Now is an absolutely awful time to be looking for a job. And if you are right now, you're aware of it, especially in finance. There's a hiring freeze across the buy side and the sell side. So what should you be doing? Okay, first of all, I was in school for like 8 years. From 2007 through 2014, I did my undergrad and then my master's. And what's interesting is throughout my education, professionals would always tell me, Mark, you're so lucky. Now's the best time to be in school. It's terrible for hiring. That obviously couldn't be true for 8 years in a row. But now, when I look back, I can tell you, in my own opinion, especially as a coach now, having a lot of clients, now is the best time to be in school since 2008. It's a really bad time for hiring. So let's break this down a little bit. The first thing I want to do is explain hiring freezes to you. I'm talking specifically from an investment banking perspective, and it translates quite a bit over to the buy side. There are different tiers of hiring freezes. The first tier is purely based on budget. This is what it means. So you have a bank. The bank has different divisions: the investment banking division, sales and trading division, risk management division, etc., etc. Let's say each division is given $100 million to spend every year. What that means is that division has $100 million to hire, to buy software, to do office parties, everything. There's actually an amount of money allotted to each division. Within each division, the COO office then further allocates that money to the subdivisions. So for example, within risk, there'll be market risk, credit risk, operation risk, model risk, etc., etc. And let's say they give, I don't know, $20 million to each division. Okay, so a division now has $20 million to spend on everything. If halfway through the year, the division has only spent $10 million, so they have money to make a hire, but then a hiring freeze hits, even though that division has the budget to make a hire, they're not allowed to. That's what a hiring freeze is at an investment bank. That's tier one. There's an exception. The exception is if you have someone on your team doing an important role and that person is either let go or quits, then you can get an exception for the hiring freeze as long as it's within your budget and you can hire to fill that spot. Tier two of the hiring freeze comes in when even those roles that you've lost someone, you cannot fill. So I'm a risk reporting team. I have someone who's doing the reporting for our team every day. She sends out these reports and she left. She went to a hedge fund. I can no longer fill that seat if there's a tier two hiring freeze. Then there's tier three, which I've never seen in my life. And the tier three is, what about business critical people? So if someone leaves, she's a risk reporting analyst, the business won't die if I lose a reporting analyst on my team. However, if I'm a P&L team and one of my best traders who's bringing in millions of dollars to this firm leaves, I need to fill that seat. So even if there's a tier two hiring freeze, that seat is still going to get approval to get hired. I've never seen a scenario where that's shut down as well. Obviously, it's happened in 2008 when the banks were just all going up in smoke, but I've never seen that personally. Right now, we are in a tier two hiring freeze, which is extremely rare. I know this because I have a client who made it to first round on a team at an investment bank, did a very good job in the interview, was given great feedback, and then was emailed, "We're sorry, we were just given notice that even interviewing positions must freeze right now." So the freeze extended from we're just filling positions to now even those that we are in the process of interviewing to fill those positions are in a freeze now. That's not very comforting. Certainly not for any of you watching this video. So what do? That's the big question. And I speak to recruiters on the buy side as well. It's not much prettier there. And the people who are getting the good roles are very, very talented. So you're up against some serious stiff competition. The best thing you can do, honestly, is stay. If you're in school, try to extend your graduation date. If you're in a job you don't love, stick it out a little longer. I'm not somebody who's never done this. It took me almost 6 years to move from risk IT to the sales and trading desk, where I ultimately landed and stayed and really enjoyed my career. But I wasn't panicking or freaking out the whole time. I'm sure there were panic and freak out moments, but I took my time and I did it right. So I would say stay. Study. Don't just stay and be complacent. Study for that role you want. So if you're working in IT and your goal is to move to prime brokerage, for example, start learning about the different prime brokerage divisions. Learn about the area you want to work in and pick up the technical skills. Network across the prime brokerage division. Make it clear, I'm not looking for a job now. I know there's a hiring freeze. I just want to meet you. I want to learn about you. I want to learn about your team and your process. That way, when the hiring freeze does lift, and I believe it will in a few months, I've been wrong, but I think it will lift. When that happens, you'll be primed and ready to move into that position. So that is what I think the best course of action to do. Stay put. If you're in school, maybe extend it a little, but finish up your school slowly. And if you are in a job that you don't love, whether it's something you want to move out of or you're just not happy with your current situation, I would say try to stick it out just a little longer, skill up, network. This is like literally just an awful month to do it because of what's going on with the smaller banks. If you absolutely must find a job now, I hate to say this, I don't think you're going to find a top job at a top bank. Just don't think so. Not only do they not exist, a hedge fund either. I don't think they exist. And if they do exist, you're going against some very stiff competition. So in that case, you're going to have to compromise. You're either going to have to look for a lesser job than you want, one that pays less, one that has lower prestige, which I would prefer you didn't have to do in the first place. That's why I'm recommending you don't do this. Or look for a much smaller, unknown firm, either through networking on LinkedIn or just looking online and finding a much smaller bank, a much smaller family office or something like that, and try to squeeze in over there and hope that works out. I'm sorry this wasn't the most cheerful video in the world. It's the reality. This is how things are right now. Really, the best thing you can do is just prepare. If you have any other specific questions, I'll be happy to answer them. Please leave them in the comments below. Yeah, I'll see you next video, hopefully with much more exciting news.